Scott.
he'd say, well, how you doing, Stripe? And how you doing, Scotty? Or something like that.
Yeah.
And once in a while I'd run into him in the old terminal building in the restaurant years ago.
Oh, okay.
He'd be in there getting a sandwich or something, and I'd
Sure.
come in on a trip and get a lunch.
Would Monarch fill your plane?
Pardon?
Would he fuel your aircraft?
I think once in a while Pennsylvania Central had them fuel the airplanes, or when we had to have the airplanes be iced, I think he did it for us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did some service work for Pennsylvania Central.
Okay.
Because we didn't have a hangar there. The airplane would lay overnight, would set out, and we parked it on the west side of Brandon's hangar. In fact, in your book here. In fact, when I saw that picture, that choked me up. It really did. You know, it brought back wonderful memories.
Oh, that's nice of you to say.
Brought back wonderful memories. See, it's in here. Oh, incidentally, that's when we heard Americans got these. We all went down to the airport to see the DC-2. That's a beautiful picture.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
And you got the Ford Tri-Motor over here, and then the old terminal.
Yeah, page 77 of the book. Yeah.
Gee. You got a wonderful book there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You covered everything. I don't know. You must have spent a lot of time putting this together.
I did. I took a few years.
Yeah, I imagine.
Let's see. I have a book too. So
I imagine you did.
let me see.
I don't want to get this.
Let's see where it is.
See, here's a picture of grandmother here. See the old Robin?
Yes.
Here. That Matty Laird made the best airplanes in his day. He made real airplanes.
Let's see here. Page 78, I think it is. Talking with Fred Stride here. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah,
There we go. Page 78 of the book, Pennsylvania Central.
That really cracked me up when I saw that picture. I choked up.
You flew that plane?
Oh, yeah, I got my log. Bring my logbooks over. Oh, here, I'll show you. Here.
Wow. Okay.
See, I wrote down the license number 2569. Well, here's the license number 25693. See, and I got records.
Okay, we're looking at the log here.
Yeah, so I looked it up in the my logbook. You get me going on aviation, I'll talk everybody. So
Well,
here,
let him have it. He's trying
25693.
to tell you a couple of things.
November 13th, 1940.
Frederick,
Huh?
he's trying to tell you a couple of things.
Yeah. I'll shut up in a minute.
I got nothing to say. I'm here to listen.
Yeah, here's the airplane, 25693, right here.
It's in your logbook. That's
Yeah.
the same plane.
Yeah, it's the same plane. Well, I flew it any number of times.
What year is that? 11/13/1940.
Yeah. See, we got the airplane in September of 1940.
Oh, okay.
It was delivered. I looked up, when I saw the license number, I got records.
And you know what? That is Monarch's hangar, I believe. Or is that Brandon?
That's on the, this is on the, I think it's on the south end of the field, along 63rd Street. That'd be 63rd Street.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I think that was Brandon's hangar. I think.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Now, you flew it from Pittsburgh.
I flew it from Pittsburgh to Grand Rapids. I flew Detroit, Washington,
He was born in 1885.
and we had a
But he got
ferry that I guess Pittsburgh, Grand Rapids. No, there's I got it in other places in the logbook here. Let's see. Margaret, is there another logbook over there?
There's one lying in here on the.
Oh, there it is.
That's your own. I don't know. I can see any other that says it's an.
Oh,
Small print.
this is the Constellation that I flew.
Now, it's in the book too, right?
Yeah, it's in the book.
Okay, let me look it up here.
Yeah.
I got
Or my mother.
in the index. We got planes listed by?
I flew it any number of times.
All right,
Okay.
on page 121 of the book, there's a Constellation
All right,
Capital
that's it.
Airlines.
860 is a number, ship number,
Okay.
company ship number. Here it is right here, see?
860.
Yeah, so I flew it, December 18th and 19th.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Of course, I flew it any number of times. I just picked the number
Right.
out of the book, like that DC-3.
Now,
Of course, I stopped flying the DC-3s in 1947. I went on the DC-4s and then the Constellations in 1950.
now, did you ever land the Connie at Midway? Yeah.
Chicago Municipal.
Yeah.
It wasn't Midway.
Right, Muni.
Yeah, Muni.
Tell me about.
Oh yeah, this picture's taken. See our gates. Our gates are. You got some real good pictures here.
That one.
See, our gates were up at the northeast.
Better
Here, I brought some pictures.
This is you were talking to last?
Mike, yeah. Here you go.
Oh,
You have the this. We're looking
well,
at.
let's see now. This
This is the
our
terminal.
gates. Our gates were up at the northeast.
Okay, they were.
Now we're looking.
This is Cicero
We're looking east here. This is
Right.
Cicero Avenue.
Right, and the old.
So our
terminal-
gates are over here.
Okay,
Over
gotcha.
here.
Over towards the.
Braniff, Delta, and Capital.
Gotcha.
We're over there.
Okay. All righty.
So you got a good shot in here. It shows it in the book here.
Now let me ask you, what was it like flying the Connie into Chicago Municipal? What was your
This
approach?
had reverse props.
Oh, okay.
It was the nicest airline airplane I ever flew. It was a 749 Connie. Because it had reverse props. You'd come in for a landing, and you'd be all set up for a landing, and when you're sure you're going to touch down, you come into reverse. And those props would go into flat pitch temporarily, and it'd be just like hitting a wall of air. Then they go into reverse, and then you'd fly power, and you'd stop on a dime.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, we used to stop, I'd land southwest on the southwest runway, and we used to stop short, and United was waiting, for us to get out of the way to taxi off. We told United to get out of the way so we could turn into our gates. We could turn into our gates without taxiing back.
Oh, wow.
That was a real airplane.
Now, how many feet would you need to land in a Connie?
Well, I would say we'd come in over the fence, and from the time we touched down, we'd stop within, going into reverse, we'd stop within about 250 feet.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What was your takeoff?
Well, the Connie took off, had a slow takeoff speed. The Connie was a good performing airplane, outperformed the DC-6. Oh, we could get off the ground. We'd get off the ground in 1,000 feet if we wanted to.
Wow. And
Yeah.
and if you had to, you could put your flaps down, right?
Oh, yeah, well, we had the flaps down for takeoff.
Okay, that's
and you
right.
let the flaps down until you got up to a certain speed before you pulled the
Oh,
flaps
okay.
up.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'd settle
Yes.
right into the ground.
You had your school out there on at the southwest corner.
Oh, yeah, the Hale School. Do you remember the Hale School?
The what?
The school at the end of the
Oh,
runway?
we were worried about that school all the time because taking off southwest, we had an engine failure. We could have gone right into the school.
Yeah, yeah.
And we signed petitions and everything for them to get the kids out of that school.
Would you see the kids playing?
Oh, yeah. A lot of times we'd fly over, and taking off with a heavy load sometimes in a hot August day without any wind, it'd be just vacant. You'd use 3/4 of the runway to get off on a DC-4 with a full load. And you think, oh boy, if I lose an engine, I'm going to go into the schoolhouse.
Oh, jeez.
Because it was so critical when you took off that if you lost an engine, you didn't have enough speed to really gain control.
Yeah.
Oh, gee. We signed petitions and fought and everything to try to get the kids out of that schoolhouse.
Oh, that's interesting. The pilots did that.
Oh, the pilots and a lot of the airport people, too.
Because I thought.
But see, the way I understand, the park district owned the airport, owned the ground.
Board of Ed.
The Board of Education owned the ground.
Yeah, they did.
And they didn't have a schoolhouse to move them to, and they were fighting the airport all the time.
And
they weren't going to move that.
And the parents didn't want to move their kids.
That's right.
You know how
That's right.
parents can be.
Yeah.
So
They don't know how close they came sometimes.
can you imagine that today, having a school on O'Hare? Ridiculous.
Well, I'll tell you, it was just lucky because the Southwest runway in the summertime, that was very seldom do you have a north wind. You'd have south winds or southwest winds, and that runway was used. That was the longest. The northwest southeast runway was the longest.
Well, here, let me get out I got a picture.
But the southwest runway, we always use that in the summertime.
Let's take a look.
And then the warm weather. Yeah, there we are.
There's the school.
Yeah.
So this is the Southwest runway.
Yeah,
2-2.
right here.
It's what, four left or
Yeah.
2-2.
But just think, before they moved the railroad tracks, so we had to operate on them. Now, we come in. See, the range station was over here. There's the canal.
Right.
And there was a power plant.
Right.
Coal-fired power plant. We come in bad weather, making an instrument approach to land. This was the instrument runway here.
Okay.
So we come in,
It's 1-3.
and we get over the range station, leave the range station, and start a let down. And we could tell when we were near that power plant because we get
the hot air.
from the hot air, and also it bent the leg of the radio range.
Really?
Yeah. Momentarily it bent the leg. You'd be off the radio range momentarily, and then you'd be back on it again because
the
there's something about the
interference.
structure.
Oh, right.
And then if there was a freight engine going by with all the black smoke,
On 59th Street. This is 59th
right
Street.
here. This is the railroad tracks used to go right through here.
So you would see the train.
So a lot of times, if you right over the engine, you could get a lot of black smoke into the airplane.
Yeah, so you're on final and you got a train in
Yeah, you'd see the lights, or you'd see the runway, and all of a sudden, all this black smoke from the train if you happen to be right over the engine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Could you smell it in the cockpit?
Oh, sure.
Because you were low. You're low. You were low.
Oh, yeah, you're low.
You're landing.
And they'd be a heavy freight, and they were coal-fired. They were old steam engines. And the smoke would be pouring out.
Didn't you think that was odd? There was a train.
Huh?
Didn't you think it was strange that there was a train on the airport?
Well, the train was there before the airport.
That's true.
Yeah.
What?
One I remember is when they
And then,
went over out there on, what's that diagonal road? It went through the fence out there at the end of the runway on the southeast northwest rim.
TWA, Constellation, yeah.
Yeah, I got the picture in the book.
You have. I remember when that happened.
That was, 49, I think. Wintertime. December 49.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
I was on the airport when that happened.
Were you really?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. We all walked down there. It was down the southeast end.
Right.
Yeah.
I
remember I was there on the airport when
Was
it
it a
happened.
strange sight to see a Connie in the middle of an intersection?
Yeah, it was.
Nobody got hurt, thank goodness.
No, nobody got hurt. And then when I was a co-pilot, we landed just before United did, and we made an instrument approach. We were landing northwest because the wind was from the northwest, and we picked up icing. I was a co-pilot then. This was in 1940. I was with a captain by name of Couples. And we landed here. We had a real load of ice, but we got on the ground all right. And about a half hour later, United was circling to make an approach, and they crashed right in here.
Oh, yeah, I read
We got
about
iced
that.
up. The pilot's name was Scott.
Oh.
It was the United DC-3. And then they had another DC-3 crash down here, too, some years after that.
Yeah, no. So you landed a half hour before the other guy did.
Yeah, we landed a half hour before. This was in 1940, in early winter 1940.
Wow.
And we got heavy ice, but we got on the ground all right. And United was behind us making an approach, and they crashed down in here, right in this, from icing.
So they were. This is runway 31. They were
Yeah,
trying to land.
Northwest Runway.
Yeah.
This was before the railroad tracks were taken out.
That's right. Yeah. This
So
was
this
like
is the only field we had here, see, was this.
small. Yeah, it was tight. I mean, it was pretty tight then.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, wait a minute, we had here because the schoolhouse is over here.
now.
But we had this is the only field we had.
So what was it like in the? What was it like in the terminal? Was it just a busy, bustling place?
Well, first off, it wasn't. When I first went with the airline, was the old terminal. We had the old terminal. Then they built this newer terminal up here
Right.
after the war,
Right.
and it still wasn't. It was congested. There were a lot of people. You know, business picked up, and Marshall Fields ran the restrooms,
The cloud room.
the cloud room, and then there was a restaurant off of it for just
Coffee shop.
yeah, coffee shop. I'll tell you a story about that. The politicians wanted to cut from Marshall Fields. And Marshall Fields told them to stick it. They'd move the restaurant out. And they thought about it. They thought, well, Marshall Fields really puts out good food and everything, so they laid off Marshall Fields.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
They wanted to cut from Marshall Fields. Marshall Fields told them to stick it. We'll move the restaurant out.
Did you ever eat at the cloud room?
Huh?
Did you ever eat there?
Yeah, I ate the cloud room.
Yeah, nice.
But mostly I ate the,
Coffee shop.
yeah, coffee shop.
Would you get a per diem as a pilot?
Oh yeah, we got expenses away from our home base. Sure, we got meal expenses and hotel. They didn't have motels in those days. We stayed in hotels.
Did you go to Caffarello's across the street?
Pardon?
Caffarello's? Did you ever?
Mike Caparillo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. Danny's Tavern across the street.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good place, huh?
I can talk now about Danny's because I'm so old it wouldn't make any difference. Oh yeah, Danny's, if we got in from a trip, would be, especially in the summertime, we didn't have air conditioning in the airplane, we'd be sweating, we'd take off our uniforms and throw them in our car and go over to Danny and soak up about half a keg of beer.
Yeah.
Mike Caparillo, he had an operation there too at the field.
He did.
Yeah,
My grandfather put him out of business,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I remember there was, and then years ago there was the Edgewater Flying Club. That was in the late 20s.
Now, what I heard is that Caffarello and Scotty were kind of rivals, friendly.
They were.
But that Scotty finally kind of just did better, and
Yeah,
Caffarello
he did.
got out of the business.
Yeah, Mike was kind of he wasn't a personality type. Where Scotty was a hale, hearty, nice personality.
Kind of a jovial.
Yeah, and then he'd do favors. I'll bet you there was a lot on his books that he never collected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he did a lot of work for people that, I'll put it on the cup, but I'll bet he never collected on a lot of it.
And in those days, I mean, you were trying to just get the customers to come back.
Yeah.
So you had to kind of.
Now, Scotty was very popular. He was outgoing, gloomy type of individual. And
Did you ever hear about a guy named Dewey Biggs?
who?
Dewey Biggs.
Oh yeah, he had a flight operations. He had taught instrument flying and instruction. I think he was at Ashburn Field
Yeah,
or Harlem Airport. I don't know
yeah,
which.
Harlem, I think. Yeah.
Maybe it was
both. I think he was there both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dewey
Biggs.
Dewey Biggs. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a character.
Did you know him?
Yeah, I didn't know him real well, but I knew him to speak to. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you probably read in the book about how he tried to sabotage Scott's
Yeah.
airplane.
Yeah.
I guess.
You see, I operate the Waukegan Airport, and I'd fly down to Chicago to Muni for parts at Air Associates and Snyder. You ever hear of Snyder's Aviation?
Sure.
And well, they'd sell parts, log books, or anything, aviation parts. So a lot of times I'd fly down to Waukegan, from Waukegan down to Muni with a student, make money flying down and back and pick up parts and so on.
Sure.
In fact, Margaret, would you handle the goggles and the old helmet over there, please?
Was there a lot of shenanigans in those days? Because I know business.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, aviation in those days, you had to keep your hand on your wallet all the time.
Tell me some stories about that.
Oh, I'll tell you a story about what I did to Roscoe Turner.
Roscoe, the great.
He was a real deadbeat.
I didn't mean it. I hope it didn't. I didn't.
What'd you do with my goggles?
Oh, my God.
I heard he was a bad tipper.
Yeah, he was. Well, he was a deadbeat.
So tell
I'll
me
tell you a story what I did to him. Okay. Here's my old helmet goggles I bought at Air Show Associates in 1930.
Look at that. Wow.
You know what they cost me? They had a little better pair, not better fit or better class, but a little more deluxe for $12. But that was $10. I couldn't have afford the $12.
They're heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, but they
Good
were
quality.
they were top goggles in those days.
Wow. This is great.
$10 was a
Look
lot.
at here's the helmet. chamois line.
Hey, I brought my camera. Let me take a picture.
Yeah. Here's the summer helmet in the summertime. That was hot in the summertime.
Sure.
So we had this helmet in the summertime.
Here, let's hold up your goggles here. Let's see. It's kind of dark here, but let's see how. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, smile. There we go.
Oh, for goodness! Oh, what a camera!
I'll take another one. This is called a digital camera.
Pull it up where you can see the glass.
Let's see.
Oh, I moved.
That's okay.
Oh, for goodness sake! Is that something?
And this is your leather.
That's a leather helmet. Yeah.
Wow, this is great.
Yeah.
See, Freddie, his whole life is the movie. He changed the subject to the movie.
So, what did you do to Roscoe Turner?
What's that?
What did you do to Roscoe Turner?
Well, I was running the Waukegan Airport, and was in September, and the national air races were over Labor Day weekend. But the small outlying airports that have their individual little air races after the national air races. And guys like Roscoe Turner, you know, they go to these little air races, and I think he was advertising Monarch Fine Air Food or something like that. Gilmore, he had a little line that he had with him, you know.
Right.
So he'd go to these different air races advertising, and what he'd do, he'd tell them to fill up the gas tank and fill up the oil tanks and send me the bills.
I've heard that one before.
And guys never collected. So he sailed in one day, and he always had a good-looking woman with him, you know, and he had another guy, and each one of them had a gal with him, you know. There was four of them, and it was a brand-new Waco Model S cabin airplane. So he sailed into Waukegan, and he bought, I think, 40 gallons of gas and a gallon and a half of oil or something like that. So I wrote up, I said, "This is what you owe me, Mr. Turner." And he says, "Oh," he says, "send me a bill." And he says, "Here's my card." You know, he was down in Indianapolis, I think. "Send me the bill." And I said, "I can't do that, Mr. Turner." I said, "I operate a shoestring. When I order gas from Texaco, I have to pay them cash." You know, it was in those days. I think this was about 1936. So I said, "Well, that's the only way you're going to get paid. You just send me the bill. I just don't have that money don't operate that way." He said, "I'm Roscoe Turner." And he said, so the four of them got in the airplane, and they started the engine, and he taxied around to take off, and there was a steel stake on the ground. And he had a wood prop. It was a Jacobs engine.
Okay.
It was the cheapest model, Waco Model S. And it was brand new, and with this Jacobs radial engine, you know, wood prop. So he started to take off. I picked up the steel stake just by impulse, and I threw it into the prop. Well, there was toothpicks all over the place, you know.
yeah.
The agent first came out of the airplane.
Oh, my goodness.
And he had jonipers on, you know, boots, and he always dressed with a Sam Brown and all that stuff, you know. He got out of the airplane. Of course, I was young, and I could run like a deer, and he started after me, but he didn't run over 15 feet. He was out of breath. So there was a little pay telephone up by the gas station and the little restaurant that was on Green Bay Road there on the airport. So he went to the pay telephone, called the sheriff. The sheriff came out, and the sheriff name was Lawrence Doolittle, and he was a good friend of my dad's.
Oh, okay.
And so when the sheriff came out, I walked up to the sheriff's car, and Roscoe Turner was there. And he wanted me arrested and everything. And the sheriff listened to him. Then he said to me, he said, well, what's your story, right? And I told him my story. And then he looked at me and said, should we lock up Turner? Jail? Turner couldn't believe it. He put the Roscoe Turner and he says, yeah, you're just out lucky. You're lucky at it. You didn't leave the airport owning a bill like that. He said, you'd get put in jail, see?
Yeah.
So he told Turner, he said, well, you just better forget about it. So the airplane was crippled. They couldn't fly it, of course. So Turner said to the sheriff, he says, well, if you're going into Waukegan, would you give us a ride? The sheriff says, hell no. He says, get the telephone booth and call a cab. Well, the sheriff in those days had those big Studebaker touring cars, you know, plenty of room. He wouldn't give Roscoe Turner a ride down.
Wow.
So Turner had to call for a cab. So later on, the owner of the airplane came up with an engine, and they changed the engine and put a new prop on it. But they had to pay me. They had to pay me for hangar rent. They had to pay me for every hour the mechanic worked on that airplane. So I made out like a burger on it.
You're probably the only guy to ever collect.
And here's another thing that's happened. This was after the war. I was a captain on the airline based in Milwaukee. And Margaret and Fred, our oldest son, you went down to the airport. Remember, we used to go down to the airport before we go off on a trip and have breakfast together?
You mean in Milwaukee?
Yeah, Milwaukee. So we were down in the airport, and there was Roscoe Turner. This was after the war. He was going to start an airline called Turner Airline. So he was there to try to get a route into Milwaukee. So he was at another table, and Margaret says to me, she says, you know, that gentleman over there, who is he? He's looking at you all the time. I said, that's Roscoe Turner. Don't pay any attention to him. I try to keep my back to him, you know. So we just started eating, and they were finished up, and then Roscoe walked over, and he looked at me, and he says, hey, he said, don't I know you? Aren't you from this part of the country? I says, no. I says, I'm from Moorhead, Minnesota. He walked out of there shaking his head.
You could have started another fight.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
I collected.
Hey, tell me that story again where you flew over the lake when you spotted the guy.
Oh. I got it all written up and I made a copy.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Just
Well, it was in August. It was summertime. I was in the afternoon, and I was flying from Milwaukee to Detroit nonstop. And we were over the middle of Lake Michigan eastbound. We were up at, I think, about 5,000 feet. And I looked down over on my side. See, I was captain. I was on the left side of the airplane, and I saw this kind of a orange color in the water. And I said to the co-pilot, I says, you know, there's an orange spot in the water over there. I wonder if a ship went down or something. The co-pilot leaned over at me, and he'd been in the military. Oh, no, he says, must be a life raft down there. He says, that's dying.
Oh.
So I headed for the spot and went down, lowered my altitude, went down, and sure enough, here was a life raft with this guy sitting in it, and he just fit. He was sitting up like this with his feet at one end of the life raft, rear end at the other, and this life raft. he was waving, and we circled real low.
You had a complement of passengers, right?
Huh?
You had
Oh yeah, we had a PA system, and I made a left circle because I was sitting on that side to see him. Then I got on the PA system and told the passengers, I said, "There's a man in the water in the life raft down below," and I says, "I'm going to circle and try to take some bearings and report it."
what altitude were you? Probably.
Well, I went down. I was at, I think I was eastbound. I think about 5,000 feet, but I went down to 500 feet. I went down below 500 feet. I went down to 200 feet
Wow.
to get a good look at it.
Sure, sure.
And then I went back up to about 1,000 feet and slowed the airplane up. I had the co-pilot fly it, and I used the directional antenna, took cross bearings, and then I took three different cross bearings, and then took the average. And I had my charts. See,
Triangular.
we almost carried charts in our flight kit, and then with my chart, I plotted about where he was.
Now you're plotting this and flying the plane at the same time.
Yeah. Well, the co-pilot was flying it, and I told him the headings to take,
I got you.
and we slowed it up to the minimum speed so that I could get good accurate.
So the minimum was probably what, 50 knots or something? Or?
Well, you know, the way they work.
You took a bearing on the
Yeah, I took bearings on Chicago, Milwaukee, and Traverse City, Michigan. Took bearings, cross bearings. See?
The radio, you were shooting you're getting the radio signals, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's a crank with a dial, and they call it the loop antenna, and you crank it, and then when you get lined right up with the needle lined up with the station, there'd be a dead spot.
Okay.
See?
I got you.
So then I took 3 different cross bearings and took the average bearings. I took 3 different shots, and took the average, and I called in to the company, and then they called the Coast Guard and called the Navy base. Because the co-pilot said, that must be a Navy.
Yeah.
You could tell. And so then we climbed back up after I gave the bearings and going on to Detroit. Then when I got to Detroit, we had a half-hour layover, and then after I got in the air going down to Washington, they called me and told me they picked them up okay.
Well, that's a great
And
feeling.
there was a bad storm moving into Milwaukee, cold front coming through, summer cold front with lines of thunderstorms and so on. So they got them before the storm.
Lake Michigan's a bad lake for storms.
Oh, yeah.
And how close were your bearings?
I was within a mile.
Well, that's
Well,
great.
I figured pretty good for an amateur.
Sure did. Sure did. That
Yeah.
was great. You didn't have a GPS unit with you.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a great story. I bet you the passengers were pleased.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
And they wanted to know, when we took off, and I called them after we got off the ground in Detroit when the company said that they picked him up, and I told the passengers he was picked up and everything.
Oh, that's great.
And
That's
that
a great story.
Margaret, would you give me that white envelope, please? Here's what I thought probably would be interesting. Sure. Take along.
That's for you.
I made
Oh,
these,
thank you.
put these stickers all together.
Oh, great.
I thought it was colorful.
Sure.
And this is a story about my early flying days.
Great.
3 articles.
Terrific. You know what? I wish I had met you before I wrote the book.
Oh, listen,
We would've got you in
you
there.
did all right with that book. You wouldn't have needed me.
Oh.
This is the man that he died. He's the man that wrote these articles.
Oh, okay.
He was a retired English teacher from college, I guess, or high school. And here's another one. And then this is about Ford Tri-Motor. I won the Illinois Air Tour in 1939, and I got first place in the Tribune. I won some money.
Oh, right. Great.
And,
Henry Horner, governor.
yeah, this is the
Merrill
Tribune
Meggs.
article back here, clipping I put.
Merrill Meggs is on it. Merrill C. Meggs.
Yeah,
Boy.
he was a great guy. I knew him. Not well, but I knew him.
Yeah, he was a publisher, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a real nice guy. This is a story about that Lake Michigan deal
Oh, great.
for you.
Now, this ran in your, let's see, this was the in-house magazine.
This is a PCA a news magazine they put out every month. It's a copy out of the PCA news magazine.
Okay,
Company name.
great. 1930s. Okay. Oh, I see. This is
19
great.
1945, wasn't there? 44?
Yeah, yeah. You were hired May 1940.
Yeah, May 14th.
Okay, yeah, this is from the October 1945 Pennsylvania Central
Yeah,
Airlines. The in-house magazine.
Yeah. This is the root structure when I was hired. And here's just before we merged in United. And this is a little humor I thought you'd get a kick out of. It's not dirty, it's good clean humor.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any writing about your travels, or?
No, I never have. I've been contacted, several people have wrote articles, contacted me, and that literature you got there, that man wrote 3 articles on me.
Wow.
And of course, I was born and raised in Waukegan, and I told him, I says, everything you put in there, you put the truth, because I says, I play golf with a lot of these guys, and I grew up with them. But he was a good writer. He died, and he wrote for the Capo News Service.
Oh, okay.
And he wrote different articles on different subjects every week that would be in the newspaper, in the Waukegan paper. Huh?
He belongs to the OX5, which is the Aviation Pioneer.
Yes.
And of course, they meet about 3-4 times a year.
Yeah.
And that they include most of the people who were here again.
We tried to get your grandfather. Here's the old directory book of the OX5 I got him on. I looked up to see if he was in here, but he wasn't. But I know several of us talked to him years ago. We said, why don't you join up with us? Because he was eligible, because he flew the OX5 airport.
Sure.
He was eligible to be a member.
But they
And
said,
why he didn't join, I don't know.
He was probably busy
He was.
flying the Notskets.
He was busy. Probably thought, oh well, just another organization.
Now, let me ask you: did the Notskets hurt your business? I mean, not just.
Well, not when I've been retired from the airlines over 30 years.
I mean, back in the 40s, like after the war.
No,
No.
they didn't hurt us a bit.
everything
I saw the golden years. I was in it when things were really running good.
Did you know Mike Rotunno,
Pardon?
the photographer, Mike Rotunno?
I know. I would know him to see him, and I recognize the name.
Did you ever fly celebrities on your?
Oh yeah, sure. Gee.
Bob Hope?
Bob Hope.
He knew about his name.
Charles Lott, Cary Grant, any number. A lot of, and Paul Douglas, who was a senator from Illinois, from Chicago, he wasn't a politician. He was a statesman. He was an educated man, and he used to fly Capitol to Washington all the time. And I had him on board a lot. And he'd like to ride up in the cockpit. And I've always let him ride up in the cockpit, see. Well, all of us Capitol pilots let him ride in the cockpit.
You flew Harry Truman?
I flew Harry Truman. I'll tell you a story about this. This was in, I was a reserve captain, just started flying captain. It was in April of 1942. And I was at the Washington National Airport, and I was flying a trip from Washington to Chicago, making a few stops, stopping at Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Chicago. And Senator Vandenberg was going to be on the trip. And I went to the ticket counter for something from the operations office, and Senator Vandenberg stopped me. He said, "Hey, come over here." He says, "I got a problem." I said, "What's your problem?" "Well," he says, "I'd like to have you meet another senator, and he can't get on your flight. He wants to get on. You know, everything was priorities. First come, first serve. If you had priority, nobody could jump or remove you from the airplane." So he says, "I'd like to have you meet Senator Truman." he's from Kansas, and he was sitting right with Vandenberg. And I said, well, what's the problem? Well, Senator Truman would like to get home to Kansas City, but everything's all filled up. He says, can't you work something out? I said, sure. Well, I said to Senator Truman, well, he was an unknown senator, and he wasn't very popular. You know, he was a Democrat.
Sure, it was like 1939.
Yeah, this was in April of 42.
Okay.
So I said to Senator Truman, I said, come with me, we'll go to the ticket counter. And I went to the ticket counter, and I said, this is Senator Truman, and I said, Senator, I said, you're not going to have a seat, you're going to have to ride up in the cockpit, but you're going to have to pay for a ticket. Oh, well, I intend to, you know. And the ticket guy said, well, he says, you know, 21 passengers, you're filled up, there's no extra seat. I says, you take the senator's money. I said, I'll find a seat for him. So he paid for the ticket all the way to Chicago. And
And he sat with you in the cockpit?
yeah, he went all the way in the cockpit because we were loaded prior.
Harry Truman flew in the cockpit with him.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
God.
anyway, I said to the senator, he says, come on, he says, I'll take you for lunch up in the dining room. I said, oh no, we're going down to the employees' cafeteria. I'll carry your bag. You stay with me. So he went down to the employees' cafeteria
At
with
Midway?
us, stand in line and got beans and
Is
hot dogs with us.
You were at uni, right?
Huh?
You're at uni now.
No, Washington National Airport.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Washington National Airport. So anyway, we fed, and I said, you're staying with me, and you're going to get on the airport with me. Senator, oh, that's fine. You know, nice guy.
So,
So we always got on the airplane about 20 minutes before they loaded the passengers, you know, to check everything. And so he got on, and there's a jump seat. We call it the jump seat in between the two pilots. I said, this is where you're going to ride, and I'll get you some pillows to sit on. Well, he was a nice guy. He said, oh, I appreciate this. And I said, well, if on the way to Chicago, if there's a seat open, we'll have a seat for you. So I just soon stay up here with you boys. So we took off. There wasn't a seat open. We landed at Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit, and Grand Rapids. And he said, well, how am I going to go from Chicago to Kansas City? I said, look, there's the TWA pilots I know real well. And I said, I'll get you, if they have a full load, I'll get you on the jump seat on TWA to Kansas City. So we got to Chicago on schedule, and I knew that there was a TWA flight that left about an hour after we got there. And we always went to the old terminal building, got a cup of coffee afterwards or something, and they'd be in there getting coffee before the trips. So I took Senator Truman into the old terminal building, and there was a TWA crew, and I knew them, and I introduced them, and I told them the problem. They said, no problem. And of course, I said, you know, he's your home senator. You know, Truman's from Missouri.
sure.
And TWA's headquarters is Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
So they said, oh yeah, we'll take care of you. We'll get you to Kansas City, all right. Then of course I left. And about 3 weeks later, I got a letter from Truman. And like a damn fool, I had misplaced it somewhere. But I like to have that. Yeah. He's a real down-to-earth guy. In fact, after we got acquainted, we started telling jokes. It was a nice trip all the way. The weather was good.
Do you remember any of the jokes?
Huh? Well, yeah, some of them I do about Missouri mules.
Kind of earthy jokes, huh?
Huh? Yeah, I had better tell him here.
I understand. Polite
But
compliment.
he's a down-to-earth guy.
Oh, wow.
He was a down-to-earth guy. He was a terrific guy.
Wow, I don't think there's too many.
He was so grateful, and he really enjoyed it. He says, oh, if you do have a vacant seat, I want to stay up here with you boys.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah,
What a great story.
yeah.
That's
And, of course, with Senator Vandenberg, he went all the way to Grand Rapids. He was from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
oh, okay.
So he was right in the, the seats, the cushions, we call it, back in the cabin.
getting ready for war, and they General Motors and Ford and these large automobile companies, all those men rode Capitals to Washington. So that,
Well, what were the only airline from Detroit to Washington?
well, I said,
Yeah.
they were doing business, getting ready for World War II organized, and they went back and forth to Washington, the business, the president of General Motors and the president, and they were all, in those days, people were different about doing that. It was an occasion. It was a thing to do. They dressed
You dressed
properly.
up,
There
yeah.
was no, in fact, even now, if you were to take a pass, you can't go with your plane.
Yeah.
You've got to go with your trousers and a jacket, or a business jacket, or a coat jacket.
Sure.
They won't let you get on the airplane, or that, at least that's what I don't know if they enforce it, but that's what the mailings tell us. We haven't been on airplanes in so long. But back in those days, all these businessmen, those airlines, so he knew what was going on in the war efforts.
Just hearing the buzz on the
Well,
plane.
no, they were riding the plane.
Yeah. Did Colonel Lindbergh, could he ever fly with you?
No.
He was working.
I saw Lindbergh 3 times in my life from a distance. It's close I ever got to him. But Jimmy Doolittle, I knew well enough that he remembered my last name.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Where would you see him?
The first time I saw Jimmy Doolittle was 1933 at Muni Airport. He was flying for Shell. And the Century of Progress, first year was in 33. In conjunction with Shell Oil Company, he was helping the publicity of advertising the Century of Progress. And he was in the hangar there with this Lockheed, Shell Oil Company. And they had a bunch of glamour girls and photographers there, taking pictures, advertising Century of Progress. And Jimmy Doolittle was there. And a friend of mine, there were 3 of us, Chuck Butts, Bill Tompkins, and myself. We drove down to Bill's car, and we heard that Jimmy Doolittle was going to be in the celebration. So we wanted to see Jimmy Doolittle. Well, after all the picture taking was over with and everybody left, there was Jimmy Doolittle still there. So we walked up to him, and Bill Tompkins had a camera.
Short guy, wasn't he?
Huh? Yeah. And he always wore a hat. You know why? He was bald-headed.
Oh.
So, I mean, no reflections.
Yeah.
Anyway, he always wore a hat. And we asked Jimmy Doolittle if he would stand with us. We'd like to have a picture, taken with him. Oh, sure. And he was a real nice guy. And then he used to fly around in the air races with this Shell. He and Jimmy Haslam. Jimmy Haslam would fly a Lockheed Big, and Jimmy Doolittle would fly the Lockheed Orion, which was a low wing. And they'd fly to the different air races. So they'd come to the air races, sell advertising Shell products. Go to all the air races, all the airports. So, everybody got to know Jimmy Doolittle. And then the last time I saw Jimmy Doolittle was up at the EAA fly-in. And Matty Laird was there with him. And EA had constructed a super solution that Jimmy Doolittle won the transcontinental record. They made a replica of it. They had it up there at the EA, and they had Jimmy Doolittle and Matty Laird, because Matty Laird constructed it, Jimmy Doolittle flew it. And so I walked up, I knew both of them, I walked up, and Jimmy Doolittle remembered my name. How can you miss a name like Stripe? That's a hell of a name, you can easily remember that. And that was the last time I saw him.
Now, did you ever see the trimotor that you flew? The Ford trimotor. When did you fly that trimotor?
Milwaukee.
Okay.
I'll tell you what happened. I got a rating and to get on an airline back in the 30s, You had to have if you had a tri-motor rating, that helped you get on an airline. It was pretty rough getting on an airline for just an ordinary guy. If you're Army or Navy Reserve or something, they hired you. So I got a tri-motor rating, and this picture I showed you, the Stinson, and it covered 4 tri-motors because I had the tri-motor rating. It's right on my old license I showed you the rating. And there was up in Milwaukee, they had a Ford tri-motor, and it was a guy by the name of Buck Lake, flying it, carrying passengers. So I was up there on a Sunday, and I went up to Buck Lake, and I said, look, if I help sell tickets, and would you let me fly in the co-pilot seat for helping to sell tickets? Yeah, sure. I had a tri-motor rating anyway. He said, yeah, that's all right. I'll let you fly the airplane, too.
Just, so I think the lights have it.
Okay.
So, anyway, this was on a Sunday, and the weather was good, and we were selling tickets, penny a pound. So we had a scale with it. And depending on your weight is what you paid, see. And they had 14 seats in it. So we carried 14 passengers, and then one passenger they'd carry in the co-pilot seat, but I got to ride the co-pilot seat because I'd sell tickets and help fuel the airplane. So this was on a Sunday, and so we were going along good all day, and he let me fly the airplane because he was getting tired of flying. It was all day long, and I was landing and taking it off too. Of course, there were no brakes on the co-pilot side, so the minute I'd get on the ground, he'd take over.
Sure.
And then, so anyway, it was Sunday. Well, this Buck Layton, he liked to drink. So anyway, the next weekend was a Saturday and Sunday, and we were carrying passengers all day Sunday, and so I went home, and I did all day Saturday, and I went home Saturday night, and I'd be back Sunday. Fine, that's okay. So I came back Sunday morning, and the owner of the airplane said, Stripe, do you think you can fly this all day yourself? I said, well, where's Buck? Oh, he was out on a fender last night. He's not in very good shape. In fact, he's over in his car, and he's out like a light. I said, oh, sure, I can fly it all right. So I flew that airplane all day on that Sunday, carrying passengers. And boy, I only weighed 130 pounds in those days.
Heavy ship, right?
Controls,
it weren't hydraulics.
No.
Wires.
But I could handle it, and it was a good day. I could take off south and make a circle over town. See, we only made a quick circle and come back, and I'd land north. So it made it real easy, and it was that way all day. There wasn't a bit of wind.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day. And we started carrying passengers about 9 o'clock in the morning, and we flew till after dark. And we'd have flown another couple hours after dark, but the Department of Commerce inspector came over to me, and he says, Fred, I got my tri-motor rating from him. He says, Fred, this flying after dark, it's legal, but he says, I don't think it's too good an idea. I said, well, Mr. Longeway, I don't either. We'll shut the operation down. He was a nice inspector. In other words, he told me, you better stop flying.
Yeah. Hey, tell me about Edward Heath again. I have a friend.
Eddie Heath?
Yeah, tell me about when you met him and the model that he flew for you.
Oh, well, when you bought a kit from Eddie Heath and then you put it together, he'd come and test fly it for you. And he'd tell you what corrections to make, to get it to fly real nice. So we had the airplane done, and he came up from Chicago. He flew up in one of his own little airplanes, and he got in it and took off, and the airplane was just like this. And he made a 180 degree and came back and landed the opposite way he took off. Got on the ground, taxied up. And shut the engine off, and he shook his head and got out. He says, this airplane's awfully tail-headed. He said, and he says, I'll take some measurements. He was a real nice guy. And he wanted to sell his airplane. And so he took some measurements. He said, now if you move the wing here, and he made marks where we should move the wing. And he said, after you do that, he says, call me and I'll come back and I'll test fly it. So a couple of weeks later, we had it all set and called, and he came, flew up on a Saturday, and he flew it. It flew good. We made a few little adjustments. It flew real good. And there was a guy there by the name of Ed LaBelle who had money. And he had an airplane, and he kind of liked that Heath parasol, and he said to Ray Butts, who actually owned it, he said, Ray, he said, let me fly it. He said, maybe I'll buy it from you. So he flew it, and he came down, and he says, how much you want for it, Ray? And Ray says, told him, and he said, it's my airplane, I'll pay him. He says, I'll give you a check. He said, Monday. So then we went and built another parasol afterwards. And with the experience of the first one, welding the fuselage, we didn't have a jig. So we got through welding that fuselage, it was kind of twisted. So we offset the horizontal stabilizer to match to be parallel with the wings. And he looked at that fuselage, and he shook his head. He said, well, the airplane flies all right. And he started looking underneath. Of course, it was covered with fabric, but he moved the back seat so he could look through,
This was
He said, well, it's welded together all right. And he shook his head.
This is Heath shaking his head.
Yeah. And then we bought another kit from him. We went down to Chicago to his factory, and we brought the kit home ourselves on a truck. And it was all in pieces, And he said to Ray Butts, he says, I'm going to show you how to make a jig. And he says, it's a shame to spend all that money. So we made a jig and built another airplane. Oh, it was winter time and the airplane was ready for recovery. And the Buttses lived in Zion. And their folks always went to Florida for about 3 weeks every winter, 3 weeks to a month.
Nice.
So we had to cover, the wings were ready to cover and the fuselage was ready to cover, but we didn't have a heated place. So Ray and Chuck, his brother, they lived at home with the folks. And Chuck got the idea. He said, well, hey, Ray, he says, let's take out the front picture window and clean out the furniture in the living room. And he said, well, put newspapers and everything and bring the airplanes in and in the house and put the dope the fabric and everything. And he says, the folks won't know the difference, and they're going to be hard the bucks anyway. So we took the picture window out, took the wings out of the fuselage, and covered them, and doped them. Well, that airplane dope smelled like banana oil, It had a sweet smelling flavor to it.
Flammable, too.
And we didn't have spray guns, and you put it by brush, and you put, I think, 6 coats. 2 coats of clear, and then 4 coats of pigment or something like that. Anyway, we'd been working on it about 3 weeks, and then the older brother, Steve, came by, and he says, I walk into this house, and he says, it smells terrible. And he says, you better get that airplane out of there. He says, that airplane is in there when the folks come home, they'll kill you. So we hurried up, got the job done, got the airplane out of there, got the picture window back in, and opened up the house there and out. We never did get in there now, because when they came in, they wanted the smell, banana smell.
What year was this?
I think it was about 1937.
Okay.
Yeah, 37. Yeah, it was 37. Yeah.
So you were a bunch of young guys.
Yeah, we were. I was,
You were
37, I was 23.
Okay.
Yeah. I was born in 1913.
So they were ticked off, huh? The parents, they walk in and the banana smell.
Oh, yeah, they wanted to know what was going on. And, what was this odor? And
No, he...
Chuck said to his folks in front of me, he said, well, there was a little trouble with the furnace. We had never He had some kind of excuse. They bought it, but they got used to the smell after you're in there a couple of days. You get used to it, They finally aired out.
Oh, my God.
Oh, gosh.
Now, Heath, he was a short man.
Yes, he was. And he built a little airplane called the Heath Bullet. And my dad was a businessman and had an office in Chicago beside Waukegan. And he'd go into the Chicago office on a Saturday. And usually he'd take my older brother and me in with him. We'd ride the North Shore line down, and then he'd give us each $1 a piece. And we'd go around Chicago and get something to eat somewhere, go through the stores. And Marshall Fields had this little Heath bullet in one of the windows. It was Christmas time.
Really? In
Yeah.
the window?
In one of the windows.
The famous Marshall Fields
Yeah, but
Christmas.
it wasn't on the State Street side. It was on the other side.
Oh, Wabash.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was in one of the windows, that Heath bullet.
Oh, boy.
And oh, it was a beautiful little racing airplane. He built and raced it. Yeah. Eddie Heath.
Yeah, he died too young.
Yeah, he had a man work. He had one of his employees was named Church, and Church built a mid-wing. Built some mid-wing. Lynch Heath built some mid-wing airplanes, like a Heath Parasol.
Oh.
Yeah, Eddie Heath got killed.
The factory was up in, they moved it up to Michigan, I think.
After he died, they moved it to Niles, Michigan, because we went over there. We went over there and got an engine one day. Oh, I'll tell you what happened. This Chuck Butts had a model, a 1929 model A Ford Roadster, and it had a trunk, on the back. And we were going to drive over to pick up an engine for this Heath Parasol, for a Heath Parasol. Yeah, it was the same one because they had it 2 or 3 years. The second one they built. So the engine used oil. The Model A engine was using oil because it had quite a few miles on it. And, money was tight. Of course, gasoline was only 10 or 11 cents a gallon those days. So Chuck says, Fred, you know where we can get some oil? Yeah, he says, my dad's got 5 gallons of oil in a can in the garage. And I says, real heavy stuff. So we got the 5-gallon can of oil, put it in the car, and away we went to Niles, Michigan. Well, every once in a while we'd have to stop for oil, and the engine was really using oil. And when we got back and got home, my dad says, that 5-gallon can of transmission grease.
Oh.
He said, what'd you do with it? It was 80 weight transmission grease we were pouring in.